Bourbon Barkeep, my name's Curtis. We have a Bourbon Barkeep favorite on the table here. We have a WhiskeyTube favorite, dare I say. Booker's 2025-01. Can they start the year off better than Springfield? Let's figure it out. These Booker's batches, they keep just trying to give people their flowers. Sometimes it's a little too late. Sometimes they're still kicking. So we had the Masters Distillers batch, just kind of a tip of cap to the Whiskey Hall of Fame. You had Jimmy's batch, 2024-04. Or I think I said that backwards. Details. Now you have Barry's batch. This is named after Barry Barish, who was the CEO over at Jim Beam Distilling. On the card that's included in said box over here, they did a great job of just kind of putting a real human, a real great story together about Barry Barish. Apparently, when they were celebrating their 200th year, Barry was like, hey, let's party. I'll bring the booze. And tons of people showed up, happened all day. They apparently invited a bunch of people that were named Jim Beam that had no association to this Beam family. So depending on when the next party is, you may start seeing, hey, Bourbon Barkeep, my name's Jim Beam, just to see if I can get that invite, because it sounded wild. And it sounded like a lot of people got after it. And Barry was remembered for throwing one hell of a party. And I hope he wasn't Will Ferrell in Old School, just streaking down the quad.
We're going streaking! Yeah!
Now, diving into some of the specs for Barry's batch here, we have 7 years, 2 months, 4 days old. This is clocking in at 125.7 proof. So, like most of your Bookers, they're up there in proof. They're up there in meat. Speaking of meat, I was pretty excited when they picked this color because I was like, I kind of hope this tastes just slightly like bacon. But we can only hope if you've made it this far or you just skipped ahead. You made it to a good spot to where you're supposed to like and subscribe. And we're all just here just trying to figure out, is this worth my money? But I'm taking the first step and spending the money for you. So you're welcome. Let's get this on the nose, see if this Booker's batch is a buy. I was able to crack this a couple days ago, let it air out. I feel like the Booker's batches, they're a tough, fresh crack. I'm not gonna lie to you. They're either a little heavy ethanol, kind of like wine. They smell a little tight. This one, now that it's opened up, I'm a little more excited about it. You're always gonna have that Jim Beam nuttiness. I don't think I've had a Booker's to where it wasn't there. It's just how pronounced nuttiness. I feel like this goes more into maybe like a honey roasted peanut. So that peanut a little sweeter and roasted because it's in the name, but it's not going into this like deep, heavy peanut shell, which I would pick the honey roasted. More of like a toffee, like a deeper sweetness than your typical caramel or honey, but so far, pretty good. It's tough to find any fruit in this. If I were to find one, and I'm really searching, maybe like a blackberry. I wouldn't, it's kind of a typical Booker's nose in a good way. Heavy cinnamon, you got some nutmeg, those baking spices are on the forefront of the nose, tingles the nose, probably not just the proof. I feel like that baking spice, that cinnamon really ramps up. A little bit thicker vanilla, maybe a vanilla custard, if you will, but fruit is definitely in the background, if you will. Let's get on the palate, see what we got. She's rich. She's rich. Oh, she's sweet. Yes. Yeah. It's a good sweetness. And we're going drying. All right. Sweetness lasts a long time. Butterscotch, brown sugars, baking spices continue. Peanut continues. Even that honey roasted peanut continues. I feel like there's just a sweetness to that nuttiness to it. It's good. Extremely drying. It's not bad. It's not bad. Really zaps the tongue with some dryness, but the sweetness when it's on the tongue, I'm intrigued by. All right, sip 2. That's when rubber really meets the road. So stay after it. Give it 1 more try, if not 4 more tries, and then figure out if you like it or don't like it. Second sip's delightful. It still just absolutely zaps my tongue in dryness, which is not awesome, but the flavors that are there, I do enjoy. There's a nice, rich sweetness to it, that honey roasted peanut, that vanilla custard, even argue maybe a flat soda. Yeah, flat soda, maybe even a flat Dr. Pepper in there. And oak is pretty prevalent, especially for it only being 7 years old. Pretty oak forward on this batch. The dryness with that spice kind of leads me down more of a cinnamon bark or a cinnamon stick. Definitely not your cinnamon candy like I would prefer. But my name's not Barry Barish, Maybe dude was just loving mull wine, and he would use the cinnamon stick as a straw. And this is a tip of the cap to him. And that is a great story and should have been on the card. The saltiness on the finish, it does kind of bring me into like a dark chocolate. Like if you got your tax return back and you were like, I'm going to healthy food store and I'm just going to splurge on the chocolate bar, and they have a sea salt one. It's kind of like that. Now, one of the things that I like to do based off of the House Call Wednesdays, the A and B, I don't have a B up here, so we're going to get a B. I'm going to go for, what was it? 2024. Which one was that? Jimmy's batch. Boom. We're putting Jimmy against Barry, and it just so happens that Jimmy's batch actually won Booker of the Year for Bourbon Barkeep last year. Jimmy, Barry on the same table. Oh boy, this is like Randy Savage and the Hulkster, just ready. Jimmy's batch won by a very slim margin over Masters Distiller for Booker of the Year 2024. So I did think highly of it. Fun fact, when we first cracked this, I was like, that's average. I think I said 75, something like that. This started to open up. This is bottle number 2, so easy. As this started to open up, boy, it got richer and richer, and it did very well in the Booker's Blind. So, can Barry hang with the champion of 2024, the Royal Rumble champion of 2024? That didn't feel like Randy Savage at all, and I apologize to Randy. Rest in peace. All right, so heading over to Jimmy's batch. Let's see, is it as good as I remember? So we did a deep dive into Jimmy's batch last year, so I'll flash the card up because, it's the same. So we're not going to spend too much time on it. Ultimately, this one going a little, I think that fruit, I get a touch of orange kind of coming out here, a little more chocolate on the nose, to where it just kind of goes a little yang to the yang, if you will, to what Barry's bringing to the table. Let's get it on the palate, and then we'll revisit Barry's batch. These names going back and forth is tough. It's good. It's hotter, kind of in a good way. Like that hug, I think maybe better. And it doesn't have the dryness that Barry's bringing to the table. That dryness is pretty intense. Man, that rich sweetness. You still got that beam nuttiness in there. Those deep brown sugars, those baking spices. Oh, that's smooth. Boy, it's such a good batch. Felt like that was underrated. I don't feel like it got the love that probably should have. I mean, best Bookers of 2024. I felt like I saw it sitting on a shelf just last week. All right, let's go back to Barry. Barry takes it on the nose. I think a little more alcohol on Jimmy's, a little darker on Jimmy's. This one getting a little sweeter. That butterscotch kind of ramping up here. All right, let's see. It's good. It's rich. If it just didn't have that just absolute drying effect of cinnamon bark and not even bitter oak. It's just that sea salt, dark chocolate, so that bitterness is kind of in there, and it just absolutely zaps the entire tongue, not even the middle. That's the only drawback, or this would be extremely close, if not berry, maybe having a notch up on it. Oh man, that's disappointing. All right, back forth real quick, and then final thoughts. All right, final thoughts, then we'll get into some scoring. Barry's batch is really good. It goes toe-to-toe with my favorite Bookers of last year. The knock to where I would pick Jimmy's batch over Barry's is only how drying this is. It hasn't let up. It hasn't gone away. But from nose to mid-palate, I think it's better. And if your bottle, for whatever reason, doesn't dry you out, you're in for a real treat. Barry going toe-to-toe with bourbonbarkeep's Booker of the Year. Now let's get into some scoring and wrap this thing up quick. We got the categories that flash up, helps us put the bottle where it deserves. And coming from first crack of what Barry's was to now, it has opened up, it has gotten more mature, and it learned how to tie a tie. And I kind of respect it. Respect it more than that first taste, I can tell you that. It would do better if it just didn't zap my tongue. I can't get over it. I like everything else about it. The dryingness, it's gonna hold it back just a touch, but overall I still think it's a great pour. I think this is a Booker's batch that, not that you want to, put $100 out there, but if you're willing to risk that dryness, this is a pretty good one. We'll go 81 with that finish, not in terms of hug, great hug, in terms of the finish on the tongue, which feels weird saying, it just really holds it back. I mean, if it didn't have that and it had just a nice kind of oiliness to it, kind of like what Jimmy's batch has, I could see this being 85, 86, but I'm going to dock it. Great experience, a good Booker's batch. Now we get into bang for the buck. What am I getting for my $100? You're still talking about close to 8 years old, uncut, unfiltered Jim Beam juice. So it's getting harder to stomach. Let me ask you this. If they cut out the wood box and they were like, hey, we'll make it 85, would you forego the wood box? Because I definitely would. Once you start getting the bottles back to back, it's the wood box takes up room. All right, bang for the buck, $100, 7.5, call it 8-year-old. I think I paid it. I think if you told me they were 110, I don't think I'm pulling the trigger. I was having a hard time at 90. I think 100's my max. I got my 100 worth for what Booker's is. I like Jim Beam. I like the Booker's line. I'll just go 60. Let's go 62. I'm feeling generous. 62. It doesn't punch above 100, but I definitely get my money's worth. So there's that. I hope this review helped. Jimmy's batch, pretty damn good. You can still find it on some shelves, at least out here. So is the whiskey world healing now that we can actually just see Bookers on shelves and not have to wait in line? Man, I hope so. But $100 probably scaring some people off. Hopefully this helped. I am curious, does it dry your tongue? Because this one doesn't. Berry, just sandpaper, but kind of enjoyable at the same time.